Okay, just doing another kind of a test here, so I'm going to welcome you back to that. And trying my microphone. Hopefully this one's picking me up without too much noise or anything. Here's a part. This is a clamp, and what I was going to do as a quick test here is go through kind of my workflow of how I would make that. Now the air conditioner is running, so I'm going to apologize for that right now. Because this might pick it up. I haven't tested that yet. So a couple things I like to do. I like to get a ruler in any old place, and I see, okay, it's about 15 millimeters high. So let's just go directly to that, get our reference height. I think that's about 4 millimeters thick. Now you can direct enter. Sometimes I'll just go by what looks right. Sometimes I've got an object to reference. I'll just slide that over. 52, so sure. Let's just enter that in. And I right now have to keep most of my stuff about the size of that a fabricator mini would print, sorry. Brain fart. So I try to stay around the 50s and 60s for my size. Now here's a neat little thing right here, and I'm just going to click it. That tells all your dimensions to be from the midpoint of the object, which can be really handy when you're setting something up. And another thing that can make that handy is go here, set that to 5, set that to 0. What I'm doing is just quickly centering them that way. Now I'm going to freehand this next part. I'm not going to make a direct copy, but pretty close. We know this is 15. And what I will do is I'll grab this and drag it down to somewhere inside that. And our target is, well, 46.5, but we're gonna come up to about that. And that looks to be pretty good. Oh, no, what height was that? 15. I guess I must have didn't realize it was off the ground. Okay, well, let's just put it on the ground. There we go. Now, because they're both at 0, I already know they're centered on this, so that's a little quicker. What I want to do now is create the little bit of an angled profile. So I'm going to start a rotation tool, but I want to do a custom angle. So if you're inside the circle, it snaps to, I think, the common angles, and then outside you got pretty precise control, but you got to go outside of that demarked ring, this ring here. So hopefully you guys can see that. I'll hide the tool palette here. That's a pretty steep angle. Yeah, let's go more like that. There's hotkeys that work in some browsers. So Control D, duplicate that, and just pull it this way. Now I happen to know, when I was looking at the width of this, it said 2757, so if I grabbed that, pulled it across, and entered the same width, it would very quickly come to a mirror. And I'm just using the arrow keys to line up with nudges. There's the quick cut. So let's cut that. Just group it. And we have our somewhat nice shape there. Whew. I don't know if you guys can hear that. I kind of hope you're not hearing it as I am. But let's quickly make a head on that. I'm not going for the full accuracy of that, just a quick overview. So we want it in center. Yeah, I put it to center, that's just handy. We only want it to be 15 high, but we want it on the ground. There we go. Now, the other thing we could do is duplicate it. I just hit Control D if you didn't see that, and hopefully made a duplicate. Yep. So we want this direct entry. I happen to know 8.2 by, let's have a look here. There's the other dimension. 8.2 is actually the 8mm rod diameter. So we can put that in the center there, almost. 0. And actually, for circles, use the align tool so we can quickly align that. Oops, I had too many things selected there. I can align them this way. I already aligned that way. We're going to make this our hole. Push it down to make sure it cuts right through. And that gives us what would be like a bushing or like a bearing shaft for 8mm rod. Now that just happens to perfectly fit 8mm rod when printed on my Fabricator Mini, but that might not be the case for you. I want this to be, I think 7 or 8, yeah, 8mm. We need the height to be 15 again. Now, because I'm using center, and I suppose I should have made that clear, if I turn off this, see where it says use corner, if I put it back to using the corner, it would have dimensioned the height without lifting it off the ground. Using centers tries to keep everything center. So I'm just going to drag that in. And again, I'm going to do a quick align just to get them aligned that way. And I want to have enough room for the an M3 to go through there. And now what we do, we group that. And actually, I'm just going to quickly ungroup because this is kind of cheating. What I just did, if you couldn't see that, is I duplicated it and made it into a hole. And we're going to bring this in till it's only 1 wide. And we're going to make it 14, no, maybe 16 long. And then position it like that. So grab these items here, just align, boom. Now, when we group these, we've got our duck-shaped clamp thing. Now you need an M3 hole to pass through that, so grab your cylinder hole. I just generally grab cylinders, I don't necessarily grab the round holes. And we want exactly 3 mils, gives a tight, almost friction fit for the, oops, didn't mean to do that. That's alright, just undo it. What I want to do is align that. There we go. And now I'm aligning them to the center of height of each other, which puts the M3 screw, this hole, right where we want it. And actually, I'm going to duplicate that. Duplicate, oops, duplicate it again. But when we take these guys here, group, group, and these fellows here, quickly select them, going to adjust and align. Now you can bring them down to the same edge, so I've just aligned them to the same edge. They're already the same height because we pre-aligned that. What I'm going to do is group the holes, so they're now one object. The reason for doing that is, now when I grab that and this, and align the holes to the center, oh, they already were, that's kind of a fluke, they'll be where we need them in the bottom plate. So, group that. Now you could have put M5 holes like I did for those. Now the whole shape is done. Now for most printers, this would fill with infill, it's fine. you can use a fair amount of plastic filling in what doesn't really need it to be that way. And you can also add some rigidity by causing a perimeter wall, and that can add some strength. And I can get into that later for those that are interested. What I like to do now is I will grab a custom piece here and circular trapezoid. So I'm going to set the top radius to 3. I guess and it's upside down. Here, let's spin that around 180. Yeah, and the bottom radius is going to be 5. And going to put it right about there. Actually, let's just do this. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Actually, I'm going to say 0.5. There we go. Turn that into a hole. Now it's not, it's a little bit longer than I would like to have done, so let's maybe make the length only 15. Yep. And set that to 35. Just push that down and make sure it passes through the bottom, so when you cut a hole it cuts right. And group. And there you go. That's an 8mm rod clamp with the ability to put an M3 here. Of course, you could, I'm going to call it the duckbill, this clamping duckbill. You could have set it on another side if you needed more space for clamping. If you can see, I used, I think, 2mm here. You could go back in and either just cut out more material. You could thicken the bills. This will print just like this without the need of support. If you wanted to add fillets to the bottom edge, grab your triangle, and I need this one here. Rotate it, and we'll drag that down till that looks to be about 2 mils. Just jam that in. Now here, we see it's 15 over, so I'm going to duplicate that and just type -15 because we centered the part. It's automatically the right distance over, and if I go here and then simply click mirror, it should have mirrored that. Just mirror. Oh yeah, I have to pick the axis again on this one. So now that's been mirrored, so when we look at the top, we've got our fillets. This one here, let's move him out 16 and -16. And there we go. So that would add some strength, and then of course you just combine it. You could print it like that, but I find you get a little better results if you group things. Sometimes I'll pop to the hole to make sure there's no hidden attachment faces. If it looks nice and hollow and there's no walls or face lines where you're not expecting them, like if you look in here where we made the duckbill, there's a face line, but if there was one on the edge down here where the fillets were, that would mean it wasn't properly joined to the body. But in this case we're okay. So anyhow, that was a quick, let's delete that. That was a quick overview of some of my workflow for TinkerCad. I don't know the length of this video because I was really just testing the microphone and my screen recorder, but you can make a clamp that quick. And of course you could set your custom height by knowing the bottom here and the center of the circle for whatever size your shaft is going to be, and then build your structure around that. Sometimes it helps to model a little piece of the linear rod or whatever, and maybe the wood it's going to be on or whatever you're mounting it to, and then make the structures that go in. And then in time you'll know the strength of your PLA, and depending on stuff, I've been scratch building airplanes and stuff for a long time, and I sort of have a good idea about what I can do for making voids and open spaces to save plastic and print time. This is just a handy way to not waste plastic, because chances are you're going to print this with an infill, which would have still ended up with relatively low density here. But by making this a void yourself, you're also causing your 3D printer to print this as a wall. when it prints this opening. So this is going to be whatever wall thickness you have, and it's going to add some rigidity in this plane as well. Anyhow, so again, if you got any questions or comments, don't hesitate to put them below. I'm going to make this a public file right now. I think I can do this. 8mm rail clamp. Okay. And we're going to make that public. So that's gone public as it is. And I'll put the link to this file in the video. So you'll be able to see this and play with it and have a look. And go from there. Anyhow, again, thanks for watching. Like if you like this kind of stuff, and subscribe. Lets me know that people are finding what I'm doing is interesting and worthwhile. And hopefully this test wasn't too boring. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.